welcome back to At the Table. Sydney here, and I'm joined today by Mr. Michael Kato. He is a local, not technically chef, but a self-taught chef, and does a lot of cooking classes and different things in the community. He recently did a program for our Master Gardener volunteers, which they so graciously let me come and be a part of and enjoy his wonderful cooking. So I thought we should have him on the show, and he's going to show us a really yummy dish to make. So welcome, Michael. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Well, again, as Sydney had mentioned, my name is Michael. A relocation from, or have been relocated from the West Coast in San Diego. And we've been here for about 9 years now. And since then, I've really become a lover of Southern cooking. And as a part of Southern cooking, I love pimento cheese. I really, really love pimento cheese. And I also like lasagna. So what I thought I'd do for you today is do a combination of pimento cheese and lasagna. So rather than using our traditional cheddar cheese or jack cheese, I'm going to incorporate layers of pimento cheese in the lasagna, and I've since made it for a couple of people, and they have really loved it. So I'm going to share it with you today.
Perfect. Well, I'll let Michael kind of get us started. I'll scoot over here, and I'm going to be his sous chef today, and scoot over here and let you kind of get going with the lasagna.
Okay, so what we're going to start with, of course, first is going to be the pasta noodles. That's going to probably be the longest cooking time. And in addition to that, we're going to do the pimento cheese. Now, you can easily use store-bought pimento cheese, because that's where I got my love of pimento cheese. There are really, really good brands, but I decided I'm going to go ahead and try to make one on my own. So with a couple of attempts, I think I got it. I don't know if it's truly Southern or not, but for my liking, I enjoy it. So what we have here is that we have the pimento cheese here that I pre-made, and then it's essentially just pimentos, cream cheese, mayonnaise, and then there is some seasonings, of course, and you just blend it all up, and this is really what you end up with here.
Now, what kind of cheese did you say, Michael, that you tend to use with that?
It's cheddar, and it's extra sharp cheddar. Okay, so I wanted to get that bite in the cheese. And then as far as the seasonings, there are salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. Okay, and as also included in this pimento cheese is I included some sausage, just a mild ground sausage. So we have to be careful in the seasoning, because that's going to bring a lot of flavor to the pimento cheese itself, which is going to be different than what the traditional pimento cheese is. Okay, it adds a little more salt, it adds a little bit more savoriness to it. But then I thought that the lasagna would be good with some sausage in it. Okay, and then so to start the assembly of this, what we'll do is that we'll get our pasta noodles. And Sydney, if you want to start dicing up our tomatoes. Okay. And the tomatoes, they're fresh tomatoes, but that's going to be used more so as a garnish. And then also she's going to be chopping up some parsley, okay? And we want to add some parsley to it just to give it some freshness and then some color. All right, so what we'll do is we'll first start with our traditional ceramic lasagna pan. And what we're going to do is we're going to just add a little bit of olive oil to it, just so it doesn't stick. And then we'll brush that up on the sides and the bottom, like so, okay? And then once we get that done, then what we can do is we can start layering our noodles, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly just, we got our noodles boiled here and they're finished, so I'm going to go ahead and just drain these.
Okay. Messed you up there.
Yeah. I want to go ahead and do this.
There we go, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So we have our hot noodles here, and these are just your basic store-bought wide lasagna noodles here. So what we'll do is we'll start with our first layer. Now, I'm sure that we've done all this before, and it's something that is not really a new invention or something. So we'll start with one layer of the lasagna noodles. Oops.
Now, I have one question for you, Michael, because when we were going grocery shopping, I wasn't sure if I did the right thing. But he sent me on a hunt for some of our ingredients. So these are regular pasta noodles, correct? Why is there a reason why we choose those over the oven ready? Or is there any difference between those two?
You know what, that's a good question, because there really isn't a difference. I can't noticeably tell the difference. The only thing that you can make corrections with as far as the noodles is that you can determine the crunchiness or the al dente-ness of the noodle, whereas with a pre-bake, you only get one type of noodle. Okay, so I prefer to pre-boil them myself, but going either pre-boiled or boiled is really no difference at all. Okay, we'll be back shortly. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll actually complete the assembly of the lasagna.
I can't believe my friends didn't want to come over because they thought my house was haunted. Well, at least I got good Wi-Fi.
There's nothing scarier than a house with bad Wi-Fi.
I know, right? Don't let your home be too scary this Halloween season. Sign up for whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications.
Hey guys, Sydney and Jesse here from At the Table.
Are you enjoying the show? We want to hear from you.
We have a quick survey where you can tell us things you've learned, recipes you've tried, and how the show has impacted you. You'll be entered into a grand prize drawing. Check out our link or scan the QR code for more info.
Thank you for tuning in and cooking with us at the table.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we are here actually with Michael Kato. I'm sorry, I mispronounced his name earlier, but we are joined back again with Mr. Michael, and we are assembling our lasagna. I'm still chopping up our tomatoes, using a spoon to kind of get any of those seeds out while I chop. And this will be part of our garnish. So I will pass it over to Michael as he continues to assemble our pimento cheese sausage mixture on top of our noodles.
Okay, so we have our first layer of lasagna noodles down at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do next is go ahead and put down some of the pimento sausage cheese mixture. And then what we want to do is we want to get it relatively even, but it doesn't have to be perfect, because ultimately the cheese will melt and all sort of solidify into one piece of pasta. And then once we sort of get that down, then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and top it with just some basic homemade white pasta sauce. You can make a bechamel and create your own white sauce, but then for the purposes of a home cook, using a store-bought Alfredo sauce or a white cheese sauce is just perfectly fine. So what I have here is just some store-bought sauce, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to very, very lightly just sort of top the lasagna with it. And then what I like to do here is that I think an important part of lasagna is that you keep it in that sort of block shape, so you can show the layers of the lasagna. A lot of times you see that the lasagna is sort of collapsed on itself once it's served because it's hot. The family's waiting for it. You're in a rush, so there really isn't time to preserve those stacks. It's a matter of just getting it on the plate. But then what I like to do is I like to in small proportions, put the sauce on lightly. And then once we get it plated, then I'll go ahead and apply the sauce around the lasagna. That way there it does two things. It keeps the lasagna in its shape rather than it falling apart. And then you can determine how much sauce an individual would like. Some people like a lot, and some people don't like much at all. So then it gives you that option. You'll see that once we get it baked off and assembled, that you'll still see it in layers and with the sauce around it. Okay, so then I got the sauce, which is our layer number 3. So we have the pasta, we have the pimento cheese mixture, and we have the cream sauce. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that process over again, of course. And, what I've mentioned, and we have a full recipe at the end of the show. What I've mentioned is that, we want to lightly salt the pasta once we're boiling it. And then, as you can see, when I poured it off, I didn't really rinse the pasta, so it was cold again. What you want to do is just get it to a point where you can handle the pasta, because what we do is that we like to salt the pasta, because really the pasta itself doesn't have any seasoning to it whatsoever. It's a blank canvas. So that by adding salt to our water, that's really going to be the only opportunity we have a chance to season the pasta. So then by rinsing it and getting it cold to where you can touch it is going to wash that salt away. And that's really an important part of it, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're seasoning these layers as we go, okay? So then we'll continue to layer our pasta. And, you know, of course, we always get these sort of pieces right here. You know, it's like, what do you do with these? You can either slide them down your throat, or you can go ahead and just layer them, you know, right on top. Because again, we're doing a lasagna. So then, you know, this is actually, you know, not a negative whatsoever. We're going to reutilize it, and once we cut it up, you'll never see the difference. So then, yeah, once we get our second layer done, and you can see our pasta is still hot, it's still steaming. What we'll do is then we're going to just repeat. Okay, so what we'll do is that we'll go ahead and add our next layer of pimento cheese, and you can see that there's some sausage in here, and the sausage again is going to add the level of salt that I feel that the lasagna should have. And this is something that you can pre-check once you finish your pimento cheese. And then the pimento cheese can actually be made up to 2 days ahead. You know, the key part of pimento cheese, or any kind of cheese that you refrigerate, is that you want to wrap it airtight. And a lot of people, especially my wife and our wall friends, is that when we go to wrap plastic, like cheese or something like that, we wrap it, has a tendency to wrap like this over the, let me demonstrate this, because it's important. You know, we typically get our plastic wrap and we'll wrap it like this around. It's better to cut a sheet of plastic and then force the plastic down onto what you're trying to preserve. Okay, so as for an example, we'll lay the sheet of plastic down, then we'll tamp it down and get all the air out of it. And really, that's all you need to do. So there isn't an air gap between the plastic cover and the cheese itself, okay? So I found that was very important. That way there, it keeps the crust from forming on your cheese, or it could be pasta sauce or anything like that, and it'll hold for a couple of days. It actually extends the life in the refrigerator once you do that process, okay?
That's a great tip.
Thank you. Again, we're going to take another short break here, and then when we get back, we'll go ahead and continue with our layering of the pasta to completion, and then Sydney is going to go ahead and complete her task for our parsley and our tomatoes.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. This service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network, working quietly in the background. Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
Hey guys, welcome back. So I have our tomatoes all chopped up. My job is done. I've got the easiest job that there is today. So we're gonna continue with Mr. Michael showing us his layering process. I did want to ask him a few questions. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you learned to cook, because you said you were self-taught and he was an architect. So totally not this type of job before. So tell us a little bit about where you've learned your skills.
Okay. Yeah, I am a retired landscape architect, and then which I had to practice in California. And then since then, you know, I really had a passion in cooking. I came up with a family that was really, really good cooks. So that, but at the time, you know, when you're young, you don't really appreciate that. But as you mature, you know, you find out that, yeah, you know, my family, they are really, really good cooks. So I had a chance to travel to a number of different countries, practicing my landscape architecture. And then what I thought I would do is that when I'm in a country, because I would stay there for months at a time, working on projects, to learn how to cook, how to better myself as a cook is that I used to trade or barter my skills in English, and I would teach their kids, the local kids, how to speak English in exchange for cooking classes of the local cuisine, whether it was Tokyo, Japan, Bangkok, Thailand, Cambodia, Singapore. You know, every chance I got, I tried to exchange English lessons for cooking lessons. And that's really where I learned the majority of it. And then since I retired, I sort of taken all that information that I've learned and then brought it together in different cultures. So then really my background in cooking is very, very, I like to think it's very, very diverse because I can go from, you know, not only American cooking, but to various countries to which I pretty much become comfortable with, just doing it out of trial and error. So that's really my background thing.
So are most of your experiences in Asian countries cooking, or did you also learn from any of the other?
Yeah, most of it was in Asian countries, but then I did do a lesson exchange in the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands, in Puerto Rico and San Juan. And it really, you know, gave me a diverse palette of menu items to work with. So it was a great chance, you know, to take advantage of that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, most of you have a lot of tips that you have kind of acquired over time as well. So most of those tips are those things that you also acquired from other, learning from other folks, or were these things that you just kind of, a light bulb moment went off in your brain and you said, this makes sense?
Well, it's actually both, you know. Most of the tips I learned, they were from different home chefs. And it's amazing how much they know, just the home mom, the home cook. You know, they think of things that you would have never possibly thought of. You know, things like we talked about doing the spray oil on the back of the tin foil earlier. I learned that from a little old lady in Puerto Rico. She taught me when she was making tamales, how to make it to where if you don't have corn husk, you can use tin foil. And so when it doesn't stick to the masa, she would spray the back of the tinfoil and then wrap it up. And then, so I applied that to doing it with spaghetti and just different kind of things that requires tinfoil on top of something that you're baking. So you don't get that cheese pull, you know, as you open up a cheese box. And we're gonna hopefully later on when we bring this completed lasagna out of the oven, we're not gonna get that cheese pull, okay? Hopefully we won't. All right, and then so we have got 2 layers down. We've got the final layer, which is going to be, let me just add a little more pimento cheese here. A little more pimento cheese, and then we'll go ahead and add our final layer of pasta noodles. And then once we get this completed, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and top it with our pimento cheese and our light sauce. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it 350 degrees for an hour. And then what we want to do after that is that we want to develop that crust, or some people call it a bark on top, because, you know, having that brown edge is really the part that most people like, you know. So what we want to do is we want to develop as much as that as possible. But you'll see that hopefully we'll get that outcome once we remove the tinfoil off of the lasagna. So I'm going to apply the last coating of pimento cheese here. And then as we do this, what we want to do is, again, we just want to do a light layer of this because most of it is going to melt down. And then whatever you have left, these make great cracker and cheese combinations. Yeah, you can literally just eat this as is. And the beauty of it is that it has sausage in it. I mean, anything with sausage, you know, is going to taste great, but think of it with pimento cheese. I mean, that's sort of a, you know, a double hit on you. So, you know, with that, you'll have some pimento sausage cheese that you can eat with crackers. You know, you can eat with anything, even on a sandwich would be great. You know, just some white bread. You know, so there's a lot of things that you can do with this other than just straight pimento cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take another break here, and our last and final segment is we're going to go ahead and assemble this and throw it into the oven. and then see what comes out. Hopefully it's lasagna with pimento cheese.
Great communities attract talented people to live, work, and raise their families. We're committed to delivering future-proof broadband so our friends, families, and neighbors can live rich lives in smart rural communities across America. Your community is our community. We're your rural broadband partners. You do great things. We make great things possible.
When we're connected, American communities thrive. As the internet connects more Americans every year, access to robust and reliable broadband is more important than ever for rural communities. The Universal Service Fund enables affordable, high-quality broadband, improves healthcare outcomes with access to telehealth options, gives children the education for a bright future, and allows business growth and job creation. The Universal Service Fund is expanding and sustaining connectivity for all, because when we're connected, America thrives.
Hey guys, welcome back. We've got our parsley all chopped up, and our lasagna is all complete over there. It looks delicious. So I think Michael has a few more things that he's going to put on top. Last few things to show you, and then we will show you a finished lasagna as well.
Okay, this is our completed lasagna for just one other thing, okay? What we want to do is once we get it all done, whether we're doing a cake mix or lasagna or spaghetti sauce, is we want to do a final taste check, okay? So I went ahead and tasted the sauce with a combination of the pasta and the pimento cheese, and it can use a little bit of salt, okay, and a little bit of black pepper. So at the final end, what we want to do is we want to just season very, very lightly the top, just to give it that sort of bite. And as well as, I like using red and black pepper. They have a distinct flavor profile difference. The red being a more organic, more raw flavor, where the black is more, well, we know what black pepper tastes like. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this on, it comes out very lightly. And then by doing so, just with the black pepper, okay, so now what we've done is, since we checked our final seasonings, we're going to go ahead and pre-cut the lasagna. And what do I mean by that, Sydney? What I discussed right at the beginning of the onset of the show is that, I want to maintain the layers of the lasagna. And so what we want to do is that we want to pre-slice prior to it going into the oven, our pieces. So then what we know is that we can see our score lines that we create on the lasagna, and that does a couple things for us. What we can do is once you get it scored, we can go ahead and cut out individual pieces before we bake it off, and then we can freeze them individually in the portions, whereas if it's hot and we're trying to scoop it out with a spatula, it's just going to fall all apart. Okay, and that's really what we want to avoid.
Nothing's more annoying than trying to get a slice of lasagna and all the juice falls out. Yeah, all the sauce just goes away.
Yeah, and then that's also the beauty of saucing it very, very lightly in the beginning, because we can always add sauce, and you'll see this in the final plating, where we'll go ahead and add the sauce around the lasagna, keeping the lasagna as intact as possible. Okay, so what we want to do is we'll score it. And I'm not going to show you that today, but then just cut it with a knife in the portion sizes you want. The ones you want to bake off, leave in the pan. But the ones you want to take out and freeze for maybe future, you can just go ahead and pull it out, wrap it up in tinfoil, and then you'll have an individual portion ready to go for the next time. Okay, so now that we're done with the lasagna, what we're going to do is we want to cover it. Okay, and what we talked about earlier is that one of the old tricks that this mother taught me is that we just want to get spray, vegetable spray, and we want to spray the back of this. Just like that. And again, if you're making pies, if you're making anything that requires a covering, go ahead and spray it. That way there, you won't get the cheese pool, okay, at the end. So we'll go ahead and cover this. And then we'll go ahead and take this, okay? We can place it in the oven. And then what we'll do is that, take this piece, okay? Now here we go. This is the completed lasagna, all right? And I've got people betting on that there is going to be a cheese pool, and that there is not going to be cheese pool, okay? So we'll take it off and see what we end up with, okay? So this has been resting for a while, and then what we want to do is, again, we want to bake for 350 to 375, depending upon your oven, for an hour, remove the foil, and then broil it to get that bark or that crispy top on it. And then once we do that, then we're going to recover it to keep it warm. But okay, here we go, all right? You ready, Sydney?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, everybody. There we go. See how it comes out clean? All right, there was no cheese pool or anything like that, you know? You know what the pizza maker should learn is to spray the bottom of that box, the lid of the box, you know, to do that, to avoid the cheese pool. Really, that would be a simple fix. And you can see our completed lasagna here has got a nice bark on it, and it's going to portion out very good. Although you can't see the score lines, I can see where the individual lines are under the cheese. And then when we go to plate, what we'll do is we'll cut along those lines because they're already pre-cut. All we have to do is scoop it out. Whereas if we were to get a spatula and try to, you know, typically what you do is you start doing that with it. And then what you end up with is just a blob of lasagna, you know, again, because you have family waiting, you know, on this. You have kids that are hungry, you know, that they have no time for this kind of, you know, silliness. So then we pre-cut it, and then we are going to go ahead and plate it in our next segment. But for now, I wanted to show you just what this would look like when we pull it out of the oven.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And a great thing about Michael is that you can actually go to cooking classes and learn from him. So tell us briefly just a little bit about your cooking classes that you offer.
Okay, yeah, I have a cooking classes at Clinton Community Church, and there was my original intention 8 years ago is to teach Southern cooking. But you know something, you know, a man needs to know his limitations. Because, you know, I tried to do Southern cooking, whether it's grits, collards, you know, all of our favorites. I cannot compete with these church ladies. You know, these church ladies they are literally too good to compete with. So, you know, I needed to go step back and say, okay, what am I good at? So I make things that I learned on my travels and living on the West Coast. You cannot compete with these ladies. You know, don't even try. You know, it's not like there's a discussion over it either. You know, it's either good or it's no good. You know? So I'm sticking to what I know. So yes, Sydney's right. I have a cooking class. It's a women's class that meets once a month, and we do cooking and live demonstrations. And then we're also, we've had other churches contact us who want to start up a women's group, and they thought that cooking class would be a good way to begin that.
So are the classes hands-on? Like, do they get to prepare the dishes, or do they kind of watch you prepare dishes and learn skills?
It's a combination of both. It depends upon what we're making. But yes, we have had classes where they demonstrate them, and then part of it they come in and eat. You know? But then it's a full class. You get a full meal, and also you learn about our great Savior Jesus Christ. Okay, because it's also a ministry that we learn about God, what they ate in the biblical times, and just things like that in general. So it's a really, really fun class. And it's not only for women, although it's a women's class, the husbands enjoy it equally as much.
Yeah, I love that. So if you're interested in a little bit more about learning from Michael, you can reach out to him. We can put his information down, and you can reach out and learn a little bit more about joining some of his cooking classes. But I thank you so much for being on our show today. I have learned a lot, and we actually have another show that Michael's going to be joining us on. So we'll see you guys next time on At the Table.